Donald Trump's re-election in 2024 brought with it some bold moves. One of the boldest was appointing Elon Musk to a government role. Musk, the renowned tech titan, suddenly found himself a Washington insider. His mission was direct and unambiguous. He was tasked to lead the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, known by the acronym DOGE. It was a somewhat whimsical name for a very serious undertaking. President Trump himself bestowed upon Musk the title of cost-cutting czar. The objective was audacious, to drastically reduce government waste and inefficiency. Musk, a figure never known to shy away from a monumental challenge, accepted and stepped into the complex political arena. Washington, D.C. braced itself, anticipating a disruption of an entirely different nature than it was used to. The stage was meticulously set for a high-stakes, unprecedented experiment in modern governance. Musk's official capacity was that of a special government employee. This rather unique employment status came with its own set of specific constraints and allowances. Most notably, it permitted him to work for the federal government for a maximum of 130 days within any given year. This arrangement was crucial, as it allowed him to concurrently maintain his demanding leadership roles at Tesla and SpaceX. His tenure at DOGE commenced with his characteristic whirlwind of intensity and focus. He ultimately dedicated over 114 days to this government service, a testament to his significant commitment to the task at hand. For Elon Musk, this role represented yet another formidable mountain to scale, another complex system to optimize. He aimed to bring his disruptive Silicon Valley mindset to the entrenched federal bureaucracy. The clock was perpetually ticking on his limited engagement, adding a palpable sense of urgency to his ambitious cost-slashing mission. The initial ambitions for the Department of Government Efficiency were nothing short of monumental. Musk, who possesses a well-documented penchant for grand transformative visions, initially set his sights incredibly high. He publicly spoke of achieving cuts amounting to a staggering $2 trillion in federal spending. This was a figure so immense that it caused many seasoned policymakers and commentators in Washington to collectively gasp in disbelief. DOGE itself was staffed with a relatively lean team, comprising just over 100 employees. These individuals were reportedly handpicked for their skills and dedication, ready to execute Musk's radical vision for a streamlined government. The department quickly became a hive of frenetic activity. Teams pored over complex budgets, meticulously identifying perceived inefficiencies and areas for potential savings. Musk, in his typical management style, pushed his team relentlessly, demanding swift and measurable results. The pressure was undeniably immense, building both from within the department and from the watchful eyes of the public and political establishment. DOGE did not wait long before it began to trumpet its purported successes. The department confidently claimed that its initiatives had already saved the federal government an impressive sum exceeding $175 billion. These widely publicized savings were attributed to a diverse range of aggressive and often controversial cost-cutting measures. Funding for numerous well-established U.S. foreign aid programs faced the prospect of deep and immediate cuts. Entire federal agencies were slated for either complete dismantling or significant operational downsizing, sending ripples of uncertainty through the civil service. Furthermore, a number of lucrative, long-standing government contracts were canceled abruptly, often with little warning. These sweeping actions unfortunately led to the direct consequence of tens of thousands of federal workers across various departments losing their jobs. The drive to cut costs was undeniably relentless, but the true, comprehensive impact of these measures remained a subject of intense debate and scrutiny from many quarters. Then, a significant development emerged that would alter the trajectory of Musk's government service: President Trump's new tax and spending bill. The president himself lauded this legislation, calling it big, beautiful, signaling its importance to his agenda. It was a clear legislative priority for his recently re-elected administration. The bill successfully navigated its way through the U.S. House of Representatives, clearing its first major hurdle. Its next critical stop was the Senate, where its ultimate fate would be decided by a narrow margin. This comprehensive piece of legislation was meticulously designed to enact significant and lasting fiscal changes across the nation. It promised sweeping tax cuts for individuals and corporations, alongside substantial new spending initiatives in key areas. The bill rapidly became a focal point of intense national attention, and, crucially, a significant point of contention for Elon Musk and his work at DOGE. The specific contents of this expansive bill were extensive and notably far-reaching in their potential implications. It proposed multi-trillion-dollar tax breaks, which analyses suggested would primarily benefit corporations and high-income earners. A central and highly popular component, particularly among Republican lawmakers, was the extension of the 2017 tax cuts. Alongside these significant reductions in revenue, the bill concurrently called for a substantial increase in defense spending. It also controversially allocated considerable funds for policies such as mass deportations, a key promise from Trump's campaign. Critically for the nation's finances, it included a provision to raise the national debt ceiling to an unprecedented new high of $4 trillion. The sheer scale of the bill was immense, promising a major and potentially risky shift in the federal government's long-term fiscal policy. On the significant date of May 27, 2025, Elon Musk took a bold step. He publicly voiced his strong and unequivocal opposition to the president's flagship bill. In no uncertain terms, he expressed his profound disappointment with the proposed legislation. He forcefully stated that, in his view, the bill directly and fundamentally undermined all of his painstaking cost-cutting efforts at Doge. Musk argued with conviction that the bill, as written, would significantly exacerbate the budget deficit. His own internal calculations, he revealed, showed an alarming addition of approximately $600 billion to the deficit in the very next fiscal year alone. This public criticism, coming from such a high-profile figure within his own administration, was an exceptionally bold and risky move. It starkly highlighted a growing and serious rift over the fundamental principles of fiscal responsibility at the highest levels of government. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, CBO, soon released its own analysis of the bill. Their detailed report painted a rather concerning picture regarding the legislation's potential long-term fiscal impact. The CBO meticulously estimated that the bill, if enacted, would add somewhere between $2.3 trillion and a staggering $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit. This enormous sum would accumulate steadily over the course of the next 10 years, causing the national debt to swell to even more alarming levels. The controversial bill also had the unintended consequence of exposing significant fault lines and disagreements within the Republican Party itself. A number of Republican members of Congress began to publicly express their deep unease over the sheer scale of the proposed spending increases and concurrent tax cuts. These internal party tensions highlighted a broader, ongoing debate about the fundamental fiscal direction and priorities of the Republican Party. The very next day, on May 28, 2025, the anticipated news officially broke across Washington. Elon Musk formally concluded his tenure with the Trump administration, stepping down from his role at Doge. His departure, while impactful, was not entirely unexpected by keen political observers, especially given his very recent and public criticisms of the president's key legislative initiative. The officially cited reason for his exit was the contractual end of his allotted 130 days of service as a special government employee. His permitted time was simply up, according to the established terms of his unique engagement with the government. The timing of his departure, however, was unmistakably significant and symbolic. It came immediately on the heels of his direct public clash with President Trump over the nation's future fiscal direction. Washington insiders and media commentators immediately began to buzz, speculating intensely about the wider implications of his sudden exit from the administration. President Trump's public reaction to Elon Musk's departure and his preceding criticisms was somewhat nuanced and carefully managed. He candidly acknowledged having some mixed feelings about the controversial tax and spending bill himself. Reports suggested he was personally thrilled about the extensive tax cuts the bill contained, a long-standing Republican priority. However, he was apparently less enthusiastic about certain other spending aspects included in the large package. Despite Musk's very public dissent, President Trump seemed to maintain a certain level of personal support for the tech entrepreneur. This was evidenced earlier in March 2025, when he had unusually allowed the prestigious South Lawn of the White House to be temporarily transformed into a showroom for Tesla vehicles. The White House, for its part, offered no detailed official comment on Musk's exit beyond a brief confirmation from an official that his departure was proceeding, and the formal offboarding process had commenced. Elon Musk, for his part, issued public statements that were both diplomatic in tone, yet firm in their underlying message. He formally thanked President Trump for the unique and challenging opportunity to serve in his administration. He also expressed his sincere confidence that Doge's core mission to identify and cut governmental waste would continue effectively, even in his absence. In a characteristically Musk-like analogy, he likened the impact of his departure on Doge to the philosophical concept of Buddhism not needing Buddha. This intriguing comparison suggested his belief that the operational systems, innovative mindset, and dedicated team he had helped to instill at the department would endure and thrive without his direct leadership. His carefully chosen words appeared designed to portray a smooth and amicable transition, despite the clear underlying tensions that had precipitated his exit. He aimed to minimize any further public conflict or speculation. Musk's highly publicized foray into the world of government service had significant repercussions that extended far beyond the political sphere of Washington. His flagship company, Tesla, found itself facing a considerable and multifaceted backlash from various quarters. His prominent role at Doge, and particularly the extensive federal job cuts attributed to the department's initiatives, sparked numerous public protests and demonstrations. Organized activist groups called for and implemented boycotts of Tesla vehicles, urging consumers to reconsider purchasing from the company. These widespread negative sentiments appeared to translate into tangible impacts on the company's financial bottom line. Tesla experienced a noticeable and concerning drop in its vehicle sales figures during this turbulent period. Furthermore, the company's stock performance also suffered a downturn, with its value being down by 11% in the year 2025 as of early May. The close association with controversial government policies ultimately proved to be a costly venture for the pioneering electric car giant. With Elon Musk, its high-profile founder and driving force, now gone, pressing questions inevitably arose concerning the future trajectory of Doge. The department that he had conceived and launched would continue to operate, at least for the foreseeable future. However, its ultimate power and influence within the sprawling federal bureaucracy became significantly more uncertain without its charismatic and often controversial leader at the helm. There were widespread expectations of forthcoming legislative efforts aimed at solidifying and codifying Doge's numerous cost-cutting measures into law. Russ Vought, the serving director of the Office of Management and Budget, publicly indicated that the House of Representatives would likely propose a comprehensive rescissions package. This legislative package would be specifically designed to formally enact the various cuts and efficiencies that Doge had initiated under Musk's leadership. The true lasting test of Doge's institutional endurance and impact was, however, yet to come. The significant controversy surrounding Doge's widely publicized claimed savings lingered persistently even after Musk's departure from Washington. The prominent headline figure, suggesting that over $175 billion had been saved for taxpayers, was undeniably impressive on its face. However, a detailed investigative analysis conducted by the BBC suggested that this substantial figure lacked sufficient concrete, independently verifiable evidence to fully support it. Similarly, NBC News also noted in its reporting that these ambitious claims of savings were questionable and proved exceedingly difficult to substantiate through independent financial reviews. It was also noteworthy that Musk himself had initially set far more audacious goals for Doge, originally targeting an almost unbelievable $2 trillion in cuts from federal spending. He later found it necessary to significantly scale back these incredibly ambitious initial objectives. Consequently, the true quantifiable extent of Doge's actual fiscal impact remained a highly contentious and debated topic among economists and policy analysts. Elon Musk had, for some time, been a prominent and substantial financial supporter of the Republican Party and its candidates. His personal contributions to President Trump's successful 2024 re-election campaign were particularly noteworthy, reportedly exceeding a massive $250 million. This level of financial backing easily positioned him as one of the foremost major donors to the campaign. However, on May 20, 2025, even before his public and dramatic clash with the administration over the tax bill, Musk had already begun to signal a potential shift in his political engagement.